What if much of what you learned in school about Philippine history was a lie? You were probably taught that our story began in 1521, when Spanish ships arrived and found scattered, primitive tribes just waiting to be civilized. For centuries, we were told our history started with them, but that's not the truth. It's not even close. When the Spanish arrived, they didn't find scattered villages. They found powerful kingdoms. Kingdoms with fleets of warships, trade routes stretching to China, and so much gold that foreign chroniclers were left breathless. This is the real story of the lost kingdoms of the Philippines, the civilization they tried to make us forget. Our story kicks off not with a king or a battle, but with a piece of metal pulled from a riverbed. In 1989, a man dredging for sand in the Lumbang River found a thin, blackened copper plate covered in strange writing he couldn't understand. For years, it was treated like junk, its value a total mystery. It was eventually sold to the National Museum of the Philippines, where it sat waiting to be deciphered, and what it revealed would rewrite our history. This was the Laguna Copperplate Inscription. A Dutch anthropologist named Antoon Postma finally cracked the code. Translating the text, a mix of Old Malay Sanskrit and Old Javanese written in a script called Kawai. The document was dated with stunning precision, the Saka year 822, or April 21st, 900 AD. This single artifact proved that a complex literate society existed in the Philippines over 600 years before Magellan's ships ever appeared on the horizon. Before this, our official written history was said to have started in 1521, but here, hammered into copper, was undeniable proof of a civilization with laws, trade, and a place in the wider world, centuries before the first European set foot on our shores. The inscription itself is a legal document. It's a receipt for a paid-off debt, a full pardon granted to a man named Namweran and his family. The debt was huge, over 900 grams of gold. The pardon was issued by the commander-in-chief of Tondo and witnessed by leaders from other territories. Like Pala and Pularon, this wasn't some primitive tribe. This was a society with a sophisticated legal system, a clear social order, and international connections, even mentioning the chief of Medang in Indonesia. The Laguna Copperplate Inscription is our anchor. The physical proof that what was dismissed as myth was, in fact, reality. It tells us that long before the Spanish arrived, great kingdoms rose and fell, and one of the most powerful was centered right on the shores of Manila Bay, the Kingdom of Tondo. When you walk through the crowded, bustling district of Tondo in Manila today, you're walking through the heart of an ancient empire. For centuries, the Kingdom of Tondo was one of the most influential powers in the region. Its prime location at the mouth of the Pasig River gave it total control over the flow of goods coming into and out of Luzon. Its Chinese records going as far back as the 10th century already mentioned Tondo as a major trading partner. These records, backed by archaeology, paint a picture of a thriving, cosmopolitan kingdom built on commerce. Tondo exported local goods like beeswax and pearls, and its ports welcomed ships from across Asia, bringing silks, porcelain, and ceramics. The rulers of Tondo weren't just village chiefs. They were paramount leaders, known as Lakons. The Lakon of Tondo presided over a confederation of communities governed by datas, stretching across Manila Bay and into modern-day Bulacan and Pampanga. It was a complex political state with a population estimated to be around 43,000 people by 1570. Tondo's economic power was immense. It shared a lucrative monopoly with its southern neighbor, the Roganate of Manila, over the highly profitable Chinese trade. Tondo's port controlled the ships coming in, and from there, Manila's traders distributed the goods across the rest of the archipelago. This partnership made Manila Bay the undisputed epicenter of commerce in the islands. Tondo society was organized into classes. You had the ruling Majanu class, the warrior Mahalaka, and the freeman or Tiawa. At the bottom were the Alapin or dependents, who still had pathways to earn their freedom. By the 1500s, a powerful alliance and rivalry defined the area. Manila, a younger state influenced by Brunei, had embraced Islam, connecting it to the vast Muslim trading networks of Southeast Asia. Tondo remained a mix of Hindu, Buddhist, and indigenous traditions. Together, these two powers, Tondo in the north and Manila in the south, were the undisputed masters of the Pasig River Delta. When Spanish ships first appeared on the horizon, while Tondo commanded the trade routes of Luzon, another kingdom in the south glittered with almost unimaginable wealth. The Roganate of Butuan in northeastern Mindanao was a civilization literally built on gold. The Western world spent centuries searching for the legendary city of El Dorado in South America. Maybe they were looking on the wrong continent. In Butuan, gold wasn't just for coins. It was part of everyday life. Archaeologists have unearthed a breathtaking treasure trove of golden artifacts, intricate necklaces, heavy gold sashes, elaborate earrings, and ceremonial daggers with solid gold hilts. According to museum curator Dr. Florina H. Capistrano Baker, the sheer quantity and quality of the gold treasures found in Butuan suggest it was a major center of wealth in the region. When Ferdinand Magellan's chronicler Antonio Pigafetta met the ruler of Butuan, Raja Sayagu, in 1521, he was stunned. He described the ruler as wearing two large golden earrings, with a dagger that had a haft of which was somewhat long and all of gold. Even more astonishingly, Pigafetta wrote that the Raja had 3 spots of gold on every tooth, and his teeth appeared as if bound with gold. He noted that in Butuan, pieces of gold the size of walnuts or even eggs could be found just by sifting the earth. This wasn't just a rich kingdom. It was a place where gold was as common as stone. Butuan's power came from its mines and its mastery of shipbuilding. The discovery of massive balangay boats, some dating as far back as the 4th century, reveals a civilization of expert seafarers. These ships were capable of long-distance voyages, connecting Butuan directly to the great empires of the time, including Kampa in Vietnam and Sriwijaya in Indonesia. As early as 1001 AD, Chinese imperial records document a tribute mission from the ruler of Butuan, proving it was a recognized player on the international stage. This was a sophisticated, wealthy, and globally connected kingdom that rivaled many others in Southeast Asia. Butuan was a golden kingdom, a testament to the advanced civilization that existed in the Philippines long before Europe came knocking. Tondo and Butuan were not alone. The pre-colonial Philippines was a vibrant mosaic of dozens of independent states, each with its own culture, economy, and influence. In the Visayas, the Roganate of Cebu was a major trading port. Its capital was called Singapala, which means Lion City in Sanskrit, sharing the same root as modern Singapore. By the time Magellan arrived, Cebu was a bustling hub with ties to kingdoms as far as Siam, modern-day Thailand. Nearby, the island of Panay was home to the legendary Confederation of Madhyas, said to have been founded by 10 Datas fleeing tyranny in Borneo. While its founding epic, the Maragdas is now seen by historians as a mix of folklore and early 20th century writing. Its story speaks to a long tradition of alliances in the region. To the south, the arrival of Islam in the 14th century gave rise to powerful sultanates. The Sultanate of Sulu, established around the 1450s, became a formidable maritime power, its influence stretching from the southern Philippines to Borneo. The Sultanate of Maguindanao was another major force, led by the legendary Sultan Kudarat, who fiercely resisted Spanish colonization in the 17th century. He understood submission meant losing not just his land, but his people's identity and faith. Because of leaders like him, large parts of Mindanao were never truly colonized. This was the world the Spanish encountered, a dynamic, interconnected archipelago of powerful, independent states. It wasn't a discovery, it was an invasion. When Miguel López de Legazpi arrived in Manila Bay in 1570, he didn't find empty shores. His scout, Martin de Goiti, found the fortified settlement of Manila and the powerful kingdom of Tondo. After initial clashes, Legazpi returned in 1571 with a massive force of 280 Spaniards and 600 Visayan allies he had already subjugated. The final stand came on June 3, 1571, at the Battle of Bancusi Channel. A brave chieftain from Macabay known as Tariq Suleiman refused to bow to the invaders and led a naval attack. But the native forces, outmatched by Spanish cannons, were defeated. Tariq Suleiman was killed, and the resistance was broken. Faced with the inevitable Lacangela, the last paramount ruler of an independent Tondo chose to negotiate a surrender to save his people. Just like that, the kingdom of Tondo's 6 centuries of independent history came to a violent end. The fall of Tondo and Manila wasn't just a military conquest, it was the beginning of a systematic erasure of an entire civilization. The Spanish built their new capital, the walled city of Intramuros, directly on the ruins of Manila. Tondo, once a great power, was reduced to a district across the river. The old social and economic structures were dismantled and wealth was redirected to the Spanish crown. But the most devastating blow was the erasure of history itself. To justify their rule, the Spanish pushed a new narrative that the Philippines was a land of backward warring tribes who needed saving. This story legitimized their conquest by delegitimizing the very societies they had just overthrown. Indigenous beliefs were demonized as paganism. Spanish missionaries, in their zeal to spread Christianity, destroyed native idols and suppressed traditional rituals. While there are no widespread accounts of mass book burnings like those of the Maya, early chroniclers noted that local manuscripts written on perishable materials, like bamboo and leaves, were systematically destroyed or left to rot, viewed as heretical. The stories, the laws, the epics of hundreds of years simply gone. Over generations, the memory of the old kingdoms began to fade. The pre-colonial past was deliberately reframed as a dark age from which the Philippines had been saved. This was the Great Erasure. For over 300 years, this colonial lie was taught in schools and churches until it became accepted as truth. The story of the great kingdoms of their golden age was buried under the foundations of a new colonial world. Today, the names Tondo, Butuan, and Cebu live on as cities and provinces. But they are also echoes of a forgotten time, whispers of the powerful kingdoms that once defined this land. For centuries, their stories were silenced, but history can't be buried forever. It survives in a sheet of copper pulled from a river, in golden artifacts dug from the earth, and in the records of the very conquerors who tried to erase them. Each new discovery helps us piece together the magnificent truth of our pre-colonial past. We are now in an age of rediscovery. A new generation of Filipinos is challenging the old colonial lies. We are learning that our ancestors weren't waiting to be civilized. They were master seafarers, skilled artisans, and shrewd traders who built kingdoms that were part of a vast, interconnected world. The next time you're in Manila, remember that beneath the concrete and chaos lie the ruins of not one, but two powerful states. The legacy of these kingdoms is in our languages, rich with words from Sanskrit and Malay. It's in our blood, a mixture of countless heritages, and it is in our defiant spirit, the same spirit that drove Tariq Suleiman and Sultan Kudra to resist foreign domination. Knowing this history isn't about anger, it's about reclaiming a heritage that was stolen. It tells us that our story doesn't begin with subjugation in 1521, but with greatness and sovereignty stretching back for a millennium and beyond. The lost kingdoms were never truly lost. They were just waiting for us to remember. The work of uncovering our history is far from over. If you believe this story needs to be told, help us by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. What part of this history surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Sharing this helps us reclaim our narrative, one viewer at a time. Thanks for watching.